Welcome to Peachy Books Storytime. Today we will be reading Chapter 2 of Aliens on Vacation by popular children's author Clete Barrett Smith. If you enjoy this reading, please hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel to be a part of our Peachy Books Storytime Club. When I was a kid, I used to read superhero comic books, but most people in middle school think those are immature, so I've stepped up to graphic novels now. But I still sneak in a superhero comic occasionally, usually when Marvel runs their alternate reality stories, called the What If series. For example, what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four? Or what if Wolverine were Lord of the Vampires? These mashups make for fun storylines, but the effect was a little more unsettling in real life. I opened the door to Grandma's place, and it looked like someone had tried to answer the question, what if 1967 met 2167? I expected the space age stuff, of course. Star Wars movie posters on the walls, mobiles of planets and constellations dangling from the ceiling, that sort of thing. But it all looks so much stranger for being a mashup with the hippie era. The front door opened onto a sitting room where outer space mingled with the spaced out. Lava lamps, fat wine bottle candle holders in wicker casings, strings of multicolored beads dangling from furniture made of driftwood. A wisp of incense smoke drifted across a stained glass picture of all the planets in the solar system, only in this version, the sun was a giant peace sign. The entire universe was still celebrating the summer of love at Grandma's place. I couldn't believe that my dad, the corporate lawyer, had grown up here, but it was getting easier to see why he'd never been back. And then I saw Grandma. Dad had emailed her some pictures of me, but I think that she hadn't really figured out the mysterious workings of the computer, so we didn't usually get many of her sent back to us. But I had seen a few that she had snail-mailed, so I recognized her. And I noticed the same thing in person that I did in those pictures. She sure didn't look old enough to be someone's grandma. Her hair wasn't squashed up in a gray bun on top of her head or anything. It was blonde and really long. It was parted in the middle, and it framed her face, dropping all the way to her waist in waves. And she didn't really have many wrinkles. Maybe all that peace and love had been good to her. By the way she was dressed, it was obvious she did the decorating around here. She wore a loose, earth-toned tunic thingy that fell to her knees, printed with swirling colors, like one of those abstract works of art that looked like a little kid painted it. She wore wool socks with sandals made out of corkboard-looking material, and she was draped in dozens of bamboo necklaces and bracelets. Dad must have acquired his taste for three-piece suits after he went off to law school. Grandma saw me at the door and glided over to me. Her glasses were tinted pink, and the oversized lenses made her eyes look really big. "Welcome back, young traveler," she said. Her voice was soft, and she pronounced each word separately. "I don't think I remember your grade. It's been so busy around here lately." My grade? Did we have to start there? It's supposed to be summer vacation. "Well, I just finished sixth, and I'm going into—" Before I could finish, she put her soft hands on my face. It wasn't like a typical distant relative pinching a kid's cheeks at Thanksgiving dinner. It was more like she was, tugging at them, and she studied my face really closely. Weird. But maybe she was trying to find some family resemblance. I sure hope she didn't. Grandma let go and shook her head. "No, I'm afraid I don't remember your grade at all, but you look fantastic, very natural." Thanks," I said. She must have meant healthy. My dad had said she was into organic food and that kind of stuff. What else could I expect at a place like this? Grandma looked past me, out the door, and down the street. "I'm searching for another one of my guests. I wonder if you've seen him. He's quite tall." She stretched her arm up over her head as high as she could. "And he looks sort of, grayish, you could say." She frowned slightly. Wait, not grayish. That sounds rather odd, doesn't it? I probably shouldn't say that out loud. I meant ashen. That's it. His skin is quite ashen. Long nose? I said. Dark suit? Her eyes shone behind her pink glasses. That's him, exactly. You've seen him, then. Oh, I'm so pleased. She kept looking at me, standing very still, like maybe I was going to pull that tall guy out of my pocket. He just left, I said. Oh, I do hope he's not frightened, she said. Such a gentle creature. She pushed her bamboo bracelets up her forearm to read her watch. I really should go and look for him, but there's just so much to do around here. She seemed to be talking to herself, so I didn't say anything. I suddenly smelled something bitter. Is something burning? I asked. Heaven and earth, she cried, hustling down the hall, her tunic fluttering behind her. She flung open the swinging door to the kitchen. A clanging of pots and pans were followed by cold water hitting hot metal with that psh sound. Finally, she reappeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel and shaking her head. A total loss, I'm afraid. So much for my famous tofu and squash stuffing with brown rice and wild mushrooms. She sighed. All of this has become a bit too much for a one-woman show. She stretched out both arms to indicate the entire bed and breakfast. Especially when that one woman gets a little bit older each year. She tilted her head and studied me. But please, forgive my manners. May I help you? I assume you have been out visiting the town with your parents. Will they be back soon? No, it's me, Scrub. Or David. I wasn't sure which name Dad had told her. Scrub is a pretty embarrassing name, obviously, but I couldn't even remember the last time someone called me David. She just kept looking at me. You know, your grandson, I said. Man, she was even spacier than the decorations. Her eyes got round again. But you weren't supposed to be here until Tuesday. Well, I'm pretty sure that it is Tuesday. Apparently there were no Earth calendars on Planet New Age Hippie. Grandma got a confused, faraway look in her eyes. Then she counted on her fingers and muttered something to herself that didn't quite sound like English. Finally she snapped out of it. How swiftly spins the wheel of the cosmos. Tuesday already. She shook her head and that long hair waved back and forth. I've been so busy lately that the days have raced by without stopping to say hello properly. She looked at me and smiled again. Oh, but it's really you then? How wonderful. She threw both arms around me in a bear hug. She could really squeeze hard for someone with such skinny arms. I just kind of stood there. We're not bear huggers in my family. Not really human huggers either. Please forgive me. I told you all of this was too much for a one-woman show. Grandma stopped the hugging and stepped back, holding my face in her hands. This time it felt more normal. But enough about my troubles. Let's get a good gander at you. She peered at me through her pink lenses. It's a handsome young man you are, well and truly. Starting to look just like your father. Can't believe I didn't notice it before. She stared at me like she was trying to memorize my face. It was a different feeling, to be looked at so carefully. Back home, everyone was so busy with their own stuff that I sort of felt invisible sometimes, which was fine with me. Grandma was really smiling now, all of her teeth showing and her eyes bunched up. Of course, the last time I saw you was at your first birthday party, so I guess it's a good thing you've grown so much. She laughed at her little joke. And your name was David then, but now you go by Scrub? That's a colorful nickname. How did you get it? Second grade, our class production of Robin Hood. All the kids who didn't want speaking parts like me were dressed up as trees, except I was pretty short in grade school, and my mom had made the costume too small, so I was about half the size of the other trees. And on opening night, Tyler Sandusky's older brother was in the front row. When I went on stage, he said, loud enough for everyone in the first 5 rows to hear, "It's supposed to be Sherwood Forest, not Sherwood Scrub Brush." All of his stupid friends laughed. Tyler was there and he laughed too. Anyway, the name just kind of stuck. What also stuck was my determination never to open myself up to that kind of embarrassment again. Oh, it's not a nickname. It's just, something that everyone calls me. Well, I like it, Grandma said. And I'm a woman who understands the need to choose a title for yourself. When I went off to college, I told everyone that my name was Sunshine. No one has called me Vernice May since, and thank the Creator for that. She finally let go of my face. Is Scrub what I shall call you? I shrugged. I guess. At least I was used to it. You can simply call me Grandma, if you don't mind. I think I'd rather like that. Okay. Now, after your big day of travel, I suppose you'd like something hot to eat before I start peppering you with more questions. I could saute some gluten squares in soy sauce, and I think there's some spinach salad left over. An offering fresh from the soil of Mother Earth. I have a vegetable garden right in the backyard. Yikes. Not really what I'm used to. Back home, a delivery service drops off a load of gourmet frozen entrees the first Friday of each month. The chest freezer in the garage is full of them. Mom still writes out a note with the microwave instructions every morning and evening, even though I've been heating them up since about 2nd grade. Grandma must have read my expression. Or perhaps a bit of organic couscous with cucumber slices. Oh boy. I hope this town is at least big enough to have a McDonald's. Thanks, but actually I just need to use the bathroom, if you don't mind. Of course. Let me show you where. Grandma was interrupted by several sounds. First, a door slammed upstairs, then a tea kettle whistled, and the phone rang, and there was, I don't know, kind of a wet squelching sound coming in through one of the windows. Grandma tried to look in 4 directions at once. Great galaxies, never a dull moment these days. I'm sorry. It's okay, I'm sure I can find it. Grandma smiled at me. A fine young man and a charmer, Scrub, I can tell. It will be so good to have you here this summer. She opened a cupboard and plucked one of several keys hanging from hooks. Here you go, room 2C, upstairs. Settle in and make yourself comfortable. There's a bathroom up there as well. The phone rang again, and the tea kettle whistle became a screech. Something thumped upstairs. Grandma glided away, calling to me over her shoulder, Sorry to run, I'll check in with you soon. Then she was gone, pushing through the swinging door into the kitchen. I grabbed my suitcase and hauled it up the hardwood staircase. The halls were long and narrow with high ceilings. The space theme continued up here, every guest room door bordered by gray plastic panels with all kinds of fakey-looking knobs and switches, like they were supposed to be portals on a spaceship or something. Atop each door was a theme sign, Welcome to the Milky Way, or Blast off to the asteroid belt. I set down my suitcase in front of room 2C, the Andromeda Express, then looked for the bathroom. I stopped at the first door without a room number. I knocked softly and called, Hello, before easing the door open a crack. Whoa, there was something that looked kind of like a public men's room urinal, but it was mounted on the ceiling. The sink was really low, practically on the ground. The claw-foot bathtub was tilted at a 45-degree angle and filled with what looked like super foamy pink shaving cream. And the mess, purple slime oozed out of the ceiling urinal in long, goopy ropes, and an orange puddle with bright blue polka dots seeped out from under the sink. I had had to go to the bathroom pretty bad for an hour, but I wasn't even sure where it would start in here. Maybe this was taking the space theme a little too far. Grandma appeared behind me. Oh, I'm sorry, Scrub. That's supposed to be locked. She grabbed the knob and shut the door. That's not a bathroom for you. Try the next door. She nodded toward the adjacent door as she hurried down the hall and up the next staircase. Thanks for staying with Peachy Books to hear this Chapter 2 of Aliens on Vacation by Clete Barrett Smith. If you enjoyed this reading, don't forget to like and subscribe, so that you can be here next time. I wouldn't want to miss this one, so make sure you get out and get it so that you can find out what else happens in the story. Thanks for listening. Say hello to my little friend and bookmark Zarnox. I had the pleasure of entertaining this little ray of sunshine for their Earth vacation, and I'll say, more fun has never been had this side of the Milky Way.